We'll do a review on Likutei Sichos in Chelek Chov Dalet. This is volume 24. This is the second Sicha for Chamisha Osir B'Ov. This Sicha is a siyum of Masechta Tainis. Both the Rebbe compares the siyum of Tainis in Talmud Yerushalmi and how it differs from Talmud Bavli, with a lot of details the Rebbe will point out. And the Rebbe learns in general that the Yerushalmi is more general than the Bavli, and the Mishnah is more general than the Gemara. So basically, the way it works out is that we have the Mishnah, and then it's a little bit more articulated in the Talmud Yerushalmi, and then it's further articulated in the Talmud Bavli, and that explains the difference between the language and the details, which seemingly in the Talmud Bavli we have more details than the Talmud Yerushalmi. And the Rebbe comes up with an insight over here that basically in the Mishnah, before going into the great details, there is two approaches. There is approach of some who take credit for themselves, for their milas, their advantages, what they have. They take it and they use that as a reason for they're trying to get married, and they want that the young man should marry them for their special qualities. And then you have another category, which are really everything that they have, they attribute to Hashem. As the Rebbe will say in the end, it's a very, like I said, a detailed and a very specific sikha. Of course, we know that on Chamisha Osir B'Ov, it was a great Yom Tov, and the Yom Tov was that there was a lot of marriages. Now, this is the Mishnah, the last Mishnah, Maseches Tainis, and also the Gemara in the Bavli and the Gemara in the Yerushalmi, as the Rebbe will discuss. Aleph. The Mishnah zokt b'siyu Masechta Tainis. The Mishnah and the end of Masechta Tainis says that lo yhoyu yomim tovim liyisrael kechamisha osir ba'ov uchiyom haKippurim. That there was no such good days, nothing compared to the good days, the Yom Tov for the Yidden, as the days of the 15th of Av, and as Yom HaKippurim. And the Mishnah first says that in those days, the young women who needed to get married would borrow their white garments from their friends. And then the Mishnah continues, Ubenois Yerushalayim, and then the girls, the daughters of Jerusalem. And there's another girsa, Benois Yisrael, Jewish daughters, either Benois Yerushalayim or Benois Yisrael. So it says, Yoitz Ois V'choylois B'kromim. So this was on the 15th day of Av, and we'll see why Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is also a special Yom Tov, but what was the special thing that took place on Chamisha Osir B'Av? So the Mishnah continues, it says, Yoitzeis v'choylois b'kromim. They would go out and make circles, like dance in circles in the orchards. Uma hoyu oimres. So this is the Mishnah. So what would they say? So they say, Bachur son no einecha urei ma'ata beirer loch. Young man, raise your eyes and look. What is that you are choosing for you, for a marriage? And it says, Al titein einecha benoi, don't give your eyes on beauty. Tein einecha b'mishpacha, give your eyes on the family. And the Rebbe will explain all these details, that there is two parts over here. Everybody said Bachur sonoi necho reimata beider loch. Look up higher and see what you choose. That was something across the board. But then there was two groups. One of them said, Al titein einecha benoi. Don't put your eyes on the beauty. And the other group, as we will see in the Gemara, they said, Tein einecha b'mishpacha. The people that did not have beauty to brag about or to sell themselves with the beauties, they said, Tein einecha b'mishpacha. Go give your eyes on the family, marrying into a good family. And the Mishnah brings the pasuk of Mishlei, in which it says, this follows up the idea that the beauty is not the ultimate, it's not the goal. It says, Sheker hachein vehevel hayofi, that false is the grace and beauty is vanity. Isha yiras Hashem hitisalo. A woman who fears Hashem, she is praiseworthy. So instead of giving your eyes benoi, they say teinenecha b'mishpacha, because that goes together with the issue Yiras Hashem hitisal, as the Rebbe will explain by them. V'oimer, and the other pasuk says, "Tunu lo mipriyodeo v'halalu bashori maseho." The giver from the fruits of her hands and praise in the gates, her actions. So it's all about her actions, her Yiras Hashem, and that's what we should go. And then he brings another pasuk which talks about basically Yom Kippur. This pasuk talks about Chamisha Asar B'Av, in which the women would go out and dance in the orchards. But then he brings another pasuk, V'chein hu omer. Again, a lot of the way I teach it is from the Sikha later on, as the Rebbe will teach it out. V'chein hu omer, and likewise the pasuk says. So over here, this is a pasuk already in Shir Hashirim. The pasuk says, "Tzeno re'eno b'nois Tzion." So it says that the Bnei Tzion are gonna go out and they're gonna watch. Those are the Bnei Yerushalayim, the Bnei Tzion. So what are they watching? So they're watching. So over there it says two things. It says Melech Shloimeh, thus they're looking at the King Shloimeh, as Rashi says there, Melech Shasholem Shaloi. So there's two things there. It's Ba'atora Sha'otra Loi Imoi, the crown that his mother has crowned him. So it says B'yom Chasunosei, the crown that he got during the day that he got married. U'b'yom Simchas Libay, and the day that his heart rejoices. Those are 2 days that he says the Bnei Tzion should look at, the day of the wedding and the day of his rejoice of his heart, when his mother crowned him with the crown. So when is these days that we're talking about over here, the day of his wedding? So we're saying B'yom Chasunosei Zamatan Torah. So when did the Yidden get the crown? When did they get the crowns were associated with Matan Torah? We know that the Yidden got crowns then. But so that's Matan Torah. So what does it have to do with Yom Kippur? Because Yom HaKippurim, that's the time of Yom Kippur, from Rashi, Shenitnu by Luchos HaAchronis, in which the last Luchos were given, because the first Luchos were broken, and then later on, eventually, on Yom Kippur, Hashem said, Salachti Kedvarecha, and he gave them the Luchos. So the day of the marriage, I'm not talking here about Shavuos, the first Luchos, because they were broken. We're talking about the second Luchos. So when is the day of the marriage? The day of the marriage is Yom Kippur. And also, again, we say, V'yom Simchas Liboy, and on the day that his heart is not another day, because that is talking about Zebinyan Beis Hamikdash. The building of the Beis Hamikdash was the time of the rejoicing, because the Mikdash, as the Bartanura says, and the Rashi says, and the Rebbe says in the Ha'ara, this should be in the Rashi also, Shenischanech, and the Gemara, Shenischanech b'Yom HaKippurim. The Beis Hamikdash has been dedicated also in Yom Kippur, as the references the Rebbe to the Rishv and the Rabbi Navaji Bartanura. That's the end of the Mishnah, should be built very quickly in our days. So we see from here that Yom Kippur is the time when there is the Atorah, that's the day of rejoicing. So we see that the giving of the Torah and the building of the Beis Hamikdash, and that's why it was a joyous day, Yom Kippur. So Chamish B'Av was the day when a lot of marriages took place. That made the great joy, and then we have also the joy of Yom Kippur, Nitna Beluchas Achraynes, and the Beis Hamikdash dedicated over them. Okay, but we're not going to really go into the details over here, but we're going to talk mostly about the different categories of the different levels of what the daughters of Yerushalayim or daughters of Israel, what they were saying as far as trying to promote themselves for the marriage. So in the Mishnah, we see just one general sentence saying that they said, Bocher sono einecho, urei mataberloch. See, raise your eyes, see what you're choosing. Don't give your eyes. I already said it's divided into two, but we'll see. So in the Gemara, it talks about a few more categories. After Mishnah, we bring down, the Gemara brings down Tana Rabbanon, brings down a Braisa. As in the Benois Yerushalayim or Yisrael, the daughters of Jerusalem or Israel, there were several categories. There were different mishpachas, different families that they said different things. Yaf yafiyas shabahen mahayu imris. The beautiful of them, of these daughters, what would they say? They would say, Tnu einechem liyofi. Put your eyes for beauty. She'ein ha'isha elo liyofi, because a woman is just for beauty. That was those who were in the categories of yafiyafiyas. Those who had a important lineage, they come from important families, they were miyuchosis, they would say, Tunu einechem lemishpacha. Put your eyes on family. Because a woman is there to give you children. And if you come from a mishpacha, miyuchesis, it's easier, Rashi says over there, easier to marry them off, whether boys or girls, because they come from important families. So the ones who come from lineage from important families, they would say, put your eyes on the family, because the main thing is for children, and that's the best choice, is to pick a wife from a meyuchazik family. And finally, the Gemara says that there was a third category, those who were not the ugly ones, literally would mean the ugly ones. What would they say? Apparently, they didn't have the yichus, and they did not have the beauty. So how did they sell themselves? What did they say? They say, take your deal, purchase your deal for the sake of the heaven, chulu, etc. As the Rebbe will say later on, they claim the Shem Shamayim that the Yiras Shemayim, that was the more important thing. So Yichas and Yefiyas, that's not important. The main thing is the Shem Shemayim. Cool. So we have three categories over here so far. We have the beautiful ones. We have the lenient, the one who has great lineages. And we have those who are ugly ones. And the Rebbe brings down Loit der Girse in Ein Yaakov, according to the version brought down in Ein Yaakov. Ein Yaakov is the sefer that brings down the Agadata. And the Rebbe in the Ora says, because that is studied more, that version is probably the most accurate, even more than the Gemara. So over there, kumtsu aferter sug. Over there comes a fourth category, which comes koidem dem fall from mechoris, before the last case in the Gemara, the way we have it in our Gemara, of the ugly ones. Over there it says ashiris shabahen oimres, the wealthy ones amongst the girls. What would they say? Tunu einechem bevalim, put your eyes in those who own money, rich, from a rich family. Doesn't say here because a woman is just for wealth. That's probably is self-understood. We don't have to continue that over there, but the Ein Yaakov just says that the rich ones said, take us for the money. So we have four categories right now, three in the Gemara and a fourth one added in Yaakov. Now let's compare this to what it's brought down in the Talmud in the Yerushalmi. The Mishnah, of course, is the same Mishnah in the Bavli and the Yerushalmi, but the Gemara is different, the Babylonian Talmud and the Yerushalmi Talmud. So what do we find in the Talmud Yerushalmi? Is there mefaret sugim in Bnei Yerushalayim. There too, he details categories, the daughters of Yerushalayim. Aber mitashinu, over there is a change. Ashtot, Tzurechen, and Drai, other vier sugim, instead of counting 2, 3, or 4 categories like we have it in the Babli, rechnet nor 2 sugim, only counts 2 categories. He has ha-keuris, keuris with an aleph is k'moi keuris, the Korban says, meaning the ugly ones. And over there, the Yerushalmi says, hoyu emres, they would say, al titen einecha benoi, don't put your eyes on beauty. V'hanoi soyu emres, and the beautiful ones would say, tein einecha b'mishpacha, put your eyes on family. So there's only 2 categories in the Yerushalmi. There is the keuris, and then you had the noise. So how come in the Jerusalem Talmud we only mention 2 categories? I mean, there had to be the other categories as well. There had to be some girls that came from important families, and there had to be some girls that came from rich families. So why doesn't the Yerushalmi mention the other categories? It only talks about 2. Darf man verstehen. So we need to understand, as is Yodua der Klal, we know there is a rule, as is nicht gshayich kein plukte nametzias, that it doesn't really fit to have an argument about a fact. So facts are not, whatever the fact is, that's what it is. You can't argue about a fact. You can argue about halacha, you can argue about how to apply it, but not the fact. Is der fun verstandig? So because the facts remain the same, as lekula almo, that according to all opinions, whether the Babli or the Yerushalmi, seinen zwischen the Bnei Yerushalayim, hayetzes va'imres chulu, amongst the daughters of Jerusalem who would come out and say, given, so over there existed nit nor yafiyas, nois u'mecharis, were more than just, not only the beautiful one and the ugly ones, nor oich b'yuchasis unashiras. There must have been also of great lineage, some of them, and some of them were from wealthy families. Is farvos werden ze nit gerechnet in Yerushalmi? So how come they're not counted in Yerushalmi? Basically, why is there a change between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. And as the Rebbe will explain, that two main categories is the Yerushalmi and more detail in the Bavli. Euch darf man verstehen dem Shinu Aloshin. Also, we need to understand there's a change of language over here. In Bavli, nutzt dem Loshin yof yofiyos. In Bavli, the language is more beautiful ones. When Yerushalmi uses noise, nice ones. There's a difference between the language that used in the Bavli, which is, as the Rebbe will explain later on, that beauty expresses more the physical beauty, whereas nice ones could mean more nice. It could be nice in character and nice in various different places, as the Rebbe will explain later on. But we see this difference that the Bavli mentions the word yof yofiyos, the beautiful ones, and in the Yerushalmi he talks about the nice ones, noise. And then the Rebbe is going to ask several questions on the Yerushalmi itself. In Yerushalmi Gufa seine nit verstandi kamo protim. In the Yerushalmi itself, not in comparison to the Bavli, but just in the Yerushalmi itself, there are several details that are not understood. The Rebbe is going to talk about a few of them. Number one, das was die Keuros haben gesagt, the ugly ones, they said, Al titene necha benoi. Don't put your eyes on the beauty. They didn't say anything positive about themselves. They're only saying, don't go after beauty. It should have said something positive. Go after those who fear Hashem. But in the Yerushalmi, it's just a short statement, a short sentence. Those ugly ones, they said, don't put your eyes on beauty. So the Rebbe is asking, that is the bloiza dibur shel shlila. This is just saying something not negative. Don't go after beauty. Was man soll nicht kleiben, what you should not choose. Kidei aber as der bochur soll wellen auskleiben de keura, in order for the young man to want to choose the ugly one, hat sie doch licheire gedacht to reden. It would seem that she should have spoken a dibur chiyuvi, something positive, was soll yekleiben, that which he should choose. Al derech vidinoe zogen, similar to the beautiful ones, they said, they said, put your eyes on the family. And when you compare it that in the Bavli, steht, as gesagt, what did they say, the ugly ones? It says, buy, take your purchase, choose your purchase for the sake of the heaven, which means to libi iramaisim tovim, because of her good deeds. But in the Bavli, Zokzinor, she just says negative. Don't put the eye, ashlila. Seems to be a little bit missing the reason yet to choose, and not just saying why not to follow the noy. The Tmiyah is not aggressive. It's even more difficult. Why would the ugly ones want to stress and bring to the forefront that they're not beautiful? Was for an ort hat es as the keure soll machre sein? What room is there? Logic is there that the ugly ones, they should announce, don't look at the beauty. Das ist doch matgish, that emphasizes, as Bazei is the tokenoi, that emphasizes that there's no beauty over there. Why would they say that? Not only doesn't it say anything positive, but even in their saying what they shouldn't look, they're sort of degrading themselves. Why are they announcing that? The other thing is we need to understand the beautiful ones say, uh, put your eyes on the family. Melev, when we're talking about if they come from good family, they say, look at the family. But here, the beautiful ones, they should say, uh, put your eyes on beauty or something. Why are they saying in Yerushalmi that why should they choose the beautiful ones? Because of family. What's family connected to the fact that they're beautiful? Was ist der Kesher zwischen uns und ten Enechem Mishpacha? What is the connection between beautiful ones and put your eyes on the family? Der Inyan von Mishpacha is doch a Meile von Yichus. The family, that's an advantage of Yichus, the lineage. Via state Taka in Babli, that's Taka the way the Gemara in the Babli says, as dos Flegen Zogen dem Yuchos is that the girls who came from good lineage families, they would say the idea to go b'mishpacha. But vos farashayches hotes ober midinois, what is the connection to say, look at the family from the beautiful ones? And the Rebbe brings down some of the Mefarshim, they try to explain that the reason why they're beautiful is because generally we say that the Jewish girls are beautiful, but sometimes because they don't have the money and they're poor, that's why they get sort of let themselves go because they can't afford to beautify themselves. So the fact that they're saying that they're beautiful, they're saying, look at the family. That means that the family is wealthy, that they can support and they can give them the things to make them beautiful. Mefarshim zayin das mevayer. So some Mefarshim explain this as vibal b'nois Yisrael mitzad atzmem noosem. Generally, say the Jewish women on their own are beautiful. Eloshan yismen avlosum, but it's just because they can't afford it. If they're poor, that makes them degrades them. Harei hayofis. So the say so if they're beautiful, mistame b'nois ashirim. They must be daughter of the wealthy, and that's why they can afford to stay beautiful. And that's what it's saying, that the beautiful ones are saying, go to the family. But that Pirush is tzarich go. The Rebbe doesn't accept this. He says this interpretation needs to be looked in because parvos darfan no zogen tein enecha b'mishpacha. Why should the beautiful ones say, go look at the family? Could they bring an araya in order to bring evidence? As he is from the noise that she's from the beautiful ones because she can afford it because the family has money. I mean, then she's not saying that they're rich. She's trying to tell them that she's beautiful. Why does she have to say that she's beautiful? Because there's a family to support it. She doesn't like Zogan. She should have said directly, Tein enecha b'yofi. Put your eyes on the beauty. Why does it say that the beautiful one says, go look at the family? Another question, and all these questions will be answered with the Rebbe's approach as the Rebbe is going to explain it all. Gimel, also the order, the Yerushalmi brings first what the ugly one said, and then what the beautiful one says. It seems it should be the other way around. In Yerushalmi, is magdim dem sug from kuures fardinois. So there he proceeds to talk about the category of the ugly ones before the nice ones. It should have seemingly stated in the order of their importance, their advantage. Similar that we find in the Babli, was the Amira from the Mechoores wird gerechnet lebesoif. What you said to the ugly ones that the Gemara brings down last. Why do we start with what was said to the ugly ones? And the Rebbe has a further question on the wording of the Yerushalmi. Noch ein Äußerrechnen die zwei Sugim Hanal. After the Yerushalmi enumerates the two categories, is the Yerushalmi Mamshich and is the Mitmesayim des Mesechta. The Yerushalmi continues and concludes the tractate of Tainis with this. He says, "V'chein hu oimer," and so the pasuk says, "Tze'eno ure'eno b'noisin v'melech Shlomo." B'noisin should go out and see the king Shlomo ba'torah she'otra lo'imoi, on the crown that his mother crowned him, b'yem chasanosei zumat Torah, on his marriage day, which means when the Torah was given, b'yem simchas libei, and the day that is rejoicing of his heart, that binyan beis hamikdash. This is the building of the Beis Hamikdash, Yiboneh b'meir v'mein omein, which will be built very speedily in our days. Amen. That's the last words in the Talmud Yerushalmi in the Masechta. Was in them is not verstandig. So what is not understood over here? The Raya from Posik Tzeno Re'eno Goimer, this Posik wird schon gebracht in der Mishnah. That's already in the Mishnah. We learned it in the Mishnah. What is the Gemara Mechadish Eifa Meforish Mishnah? What is the Gemara adding to that what we said already in the Mishnah? But it's even more than that. Actually, in the Talmud Yerushalmi, the reason we bring down this pasuk of Tzanorena, as we learned it, is to prove that on Yom Kippurim was a day of joy, Yom Simchas Libay. And that was on Yom Kippur. That's why Lo Yom Tovim Ki Yom Kippurim. So, but that sentence is not brought down in the Yerushalmi. Let's look inside. Nochmer. In their Mishnah, kum der posik tzenu reno b'nois tzion. This tzenu reno b'nois tzion comes al saraya of them. That is an evidence. As b'yom haKippurim, which is Yom Chasunosei, b'yom Simchas Libay, on Yom Kippur, which is the day of marriage, by the Luchas Shnius, and the day Simchas Libay, the Beis Hamikdash was built on Yom Kippur. Flecht Zayin b'nei Yerushalayim Yotzei v'chaylos. Also, that the b'nei Yerushalayim would go out and dance, it would be a great joy then. Aber was for a shaykhs had their posuk to them Sim and Gemara? But what connection does it have to the end of the Gemara? We're not talking about when we're not even talking about they went out or when the time they went out. We're just talking what they would say. So what does the posuk of Ba'torah She'it have to do with the end of the Gemara? So in the Mishnah, we understand, because in the Mishnah, it's talking about a proof that they would also go v'chaylos on Yom Kippur because it was a day of Simcha. And that's why it says that they would go out, b'nois tzion, that would go out and tzeno re'eno, b'nois tzion, they'd go out and that would be the day that they would go in the Kramim as the way they did in Chamisha Sabah. But in the Gemara and Yerushalmi, that doesn't come. It doesn't talk about in the end about that. It just talks about what they would say. So why is he bringing this pasuk? Base. Another issue is that Loit Nuschas HaYerushalmi, according to the version of the Yerushalmi of the Mishnah, Vert in der Mishnah nit gebracht der pasuk b'shleimusei. This pasuk is not brought in its entirety. The Verter Ba'torah she'itra lo'imoi, in the crown that his mother has crowned him, Veren netak, they are not quoted in the Mishnah. Ze veren nor nirmas mit v'goymer. They're just hinted by saying v'goymer, etc. Mashenkein in Gemara Yerushalmi, but then in the Gemara in Yerushalmi, veren oich di verter netak. So why are they mentioning the Torah she'itra lo'imoi in the Gemara specifically, which are not mentioned in the Mishnah? And finally, Gimel, noch the Werte she'ibone b'meheru v'yameinu. After the Gemara brings down the words she'ibone b'meheru should be built quickly in our days, Is the Gemara Moisiv Ome. Was Ome. Was in der Mishnah, in Nusach HaYerushalmi, steht das nicht. In the Mishnah, in the version of the Yerushalmi, we don't find that. Although the Rebbe says in the versions of our Mishnah, it does say Amen. But in Yerushalmi, it doesn't say, steht das nicht. My timer. So what's the reason why it says in the Gemara? All of these difficulties and this question, the Rebbe is going to answer with one answer. Now, in Ois Daled, the Rebbe is first going to say that instead of looking a answer for each question separately, trying to answer it, it is a lot more positive and answered if we can find one mahalach to answer with one idea to answer all these questions. Dalit. We can say the explanation of all this and by introducing. We could look for an idea for each change and each question on its own. It's logical to say, as es ist voran ein svara klolis oder zwei, there's just one general idea or two ideas, that explains all changes and all questions. In our case, we can say that this is something which is generally the Babli and the Yerushalmi are different. Das ist verbunden mit achilu kloli, that this is tied to a general difference between Talmud Babli and Talmud Yerushalmi, between the Babylonian Talmud and Jerusalem Talmud. Was is wie geretschrim filmo, that is, as already spoken many times, as in Talmud Yerushalmi, reden sich die Inyonim bekitzur bechlolus, that in the Jerusalem Talmuds, matters are discussed briefly and in a general way. Mashenkin in Babli, as opposed to in the Babylonian Talmud, werden sie nisbayer, beprotish yesur barichas, but there they are explained, articulated, more details, and with more at more length. On the time of them, the pashtus is the reason for this. Very simply is, but limud Gemara shebebavel, the study of Gemara in Bavel hat sich gezogen a längere Zeit. It stretched for a longer time. Noch hasimas Talmud Yerushalmi, after the Jerusalem Talmud was sealed, was concluded. But in der Sichibur v'chasima von Talmud Babli is given, the author and concluding of the Talmud Babli took place after about 100 years that Rabbi Yochanan, this is the Rambam's language, that Rabbi Yochanan concluded the Jerusalem Talmud. So around 100 years later, they authored and they concluded the Talmud Babli. Das heißt, which means that Talmud Babli is Basroi. The Babylonian Talmud is the later Lagabi Talmud Yerushalmi, relative to the Talmud Yerushalmi. Many times in Halacha we go by the later one. Basroi seinen sich oisek oichet divrei akadmoi. The later ones also occupy themselves within the words of the earlier ones. That means there is more, because they are actually on top of already, they're discussing the earlier ones. And therefore it's more detailed and more explained than the previous ones. This will be similar to the general difference between the Mishnah and the Gemara. Mishnah is a short words, which includes many ideas. The example in the Rambam's language, Lagabi Loshna Gemara, relative to the language of the Gemara, in Aspetedikon Zman, that took place in a later time. Und das is euch the nekudas achiluk, zwischen dem Talmud Bavli, Yerushalmi, B'nidin. That's also the point of the distinction, the difference between the Talmud Bavli and Yerushalmi in our case is whether we're articulating it, more explanation, or more general. In the Yerushalmi, things come in a more general way. And then when it comes to the Bavli, it gets further split up in more details. In their Mishnah, starting with the Mishnah is the most general way. Was is a dibur kotzer kenal, which is a short word expressions. It's brief. State noted that a klal over there just tells you the generality. As benois Yerushalayim, giving you all together. We're not detailing who said what and how they said. We're saying one sentence. The daughters of Yerushalayim, hoyoimris, they would say, Al titein enecha benoi, tein enecha b'mishpacha. Don't put your eyes on beauty, put your eyes on family. On protim, there's no details. The protim bozeh, the details about it, kumen erst in the Gemara. That first comes to the Gemara. Busi zainen mefure the sugim from Bnei Yerushalayim, in which the categories of the Bnei Yerushalayim are detailed, are specified. The Mishnah gives the general, and then later on, the Gemara gives you detail. And in them is the chilik zwischen Bavli and Yerushalmi. And here we also have the difference between the Bavli and Yerushalmi. In Yerushalmi, reden sich die Inyonim mehr beklos. In Yerushalmi, they're speaking about these ideas in a more general way. So therefore, in a general way, teilt men the bonois in sevei sugim. So the girls are divided into two categories: clothing, general. But in Babli, but when we talk about the Babylonians, mefaret the tzvei sugim mer beprotis. Then we detail these two categories with more details. Komtaruis, that's why we come with drei vier sugim. We get 3 or 4. Depending on the Ein Yaakov. Der mit is euch mevor der Shina Haloshen zwischen Babli and Yerushalmi. That also explains the language between the Babli and Yerushalmi. The fact that the Babli uses the Loshen Yof Yofiyas, and the Yerushalmi uses the Loshen Nois. Zwischen Babli and Yerushalmi. In Babli state the Loshen Yof Yofiyas Liyofi. Talks about beauty, but Mashenki in Yerushalmi is the Loshen Nois. The language is not beauty, but nice ones. Because the chiluk b'neim is, what's the difference if you say beauty or you say nice? When you say the description beauty, then you mean simply yoifi hagufa daraponim, the beauty of the body or the face. Mashenki noi, but when you say nice, is a toyer kloli, that's a more general description. That can refer to all kinds of advantages. It can also be physical, it can also be spiritual. And this is the difference between the Yerushalmi and the Babli. The Yerushalmi tailed the Bnei Yerushalayim in zwei sugim kloli. The Yerushalmi divides the Bnei Yerushalayim in 2 general categories. Die welche seinen Baalis Maila, those who have advantage. We're not talking specific, but we're talking about nois, the nice ones. Whatever nice is very different. But unkuris, and those who don't have any Mailas. Masha'enkin in Babli is a mechalik them sug for noise, but in the Babli they split the category of the beautiful ones, gufa, in drei protim, in 3 details. Noise mitzad yofi haguf v'aponim, those who are nice because they're beautiful, the body, the face, yofi is. Noise, another thing, well, they're nice mitzad yichus v'yichosis, because of their lineage, they come from families. Unloit girsa and Yaakov, noise, and according to Yaakov, another level of why are they nice? Mitzadzim was design and ashiras, because they're wealthy. So this noise is divided into three parts. How they are so nice. I'll call it one of these three specifics. The Yeshloimar, and the Rebbe says that could say that when we say one is that shiras, it's not just, we're not talking about just wealth, being wealthy, but rather that the wealth makes them, gives them the ability to take care of themselves and not to become, like the Gemara says, that they're beautiful, but because they can't afford it, that makes them Rav Loso. Yesh loimar, as in them, when we say about the Ashiris, is the Maila Nita Zoid Ashiris Mitzad Atzma. We're not really talking about just the wealth in of itself, nor as Bazei is the Tod that Anius Menav Losum, they don't have the negative of the not being able to, being poor, that would cause them not to be able to be beautiful. So we're saying that they're wealthy. They have, they got a beautiful home. They have beautiful dishes, clothing, that make the person's mind wide, which means they're saying that we are, come from wealthy families, which allows them, they are better and off in all matters. Hey, so now we're saying that the Yerushalmi is talking about noise being nice, which could include all three categories. And the Bavli gives you the three categories. And you have, of course, those who are mechoris. But hey, based on the above, this is the explanation. So the question that we asked Tanis Khalil Siv Beis of Yerushalmi, so we asked over there, its taka includes also lineage. As is the chaber koilel beikir, but mainly it has yofyafiyas, that literally beauty, and also rich one. If we pass zogun bazei, as the Rebbe asked before, so why did you saying ten enecha b'mishpacha? Why are you saying go by the family? What does it have to do with the family? And the Rebbe is going to explain that when it says that it goes by the family, that is sort of an approach to say that the advantage that they have is not something that they worked on, that they achieved it, or it's their credit, but rather it's the family that they get it. The explanation. The Ale Suge Maila Hanal, all of the categories of the advantage that I mentioned before, Seine nit inyonim was the Benois Yerushalayim of Malein Oizgarvet. It's not matters that they themselves have worked hard to achieve that Maila, that advantage. Und der Grech, they reached it. Nor was they bakumen von seine Eltern und Mishpocha. This is just what they are receiving from their parents and from their families. We're going to detail the three details. We'll see everything comes from the parents. Miyuchosis, when you come from a lineage, is doch bepashtus and inyan haba b'Yerusha. That's very obvious. Simply something that comes in inheritance. Ashiris, when we talk about wealth, I'm not talking about a woman, a girl that is working and making lots of money. Talking about ashiris means they come from wealthy families. Abbas v'isha ksheda, the Rebbe says when we're talking about a daughter and a kosher woman, we're not talking about somebody who's going out and making lots of money on her own. Because we're talking about Benois Yisrael, alachas kam v'kamo, Benois Yerushalayim, we call them daughters of Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is Yerushalayim, which is a great level of awe and fear of Hashem. these girls, we're not talking about that they're wealthy because of themselves. So because we're talking about a Bas Vishuk Sheda, 40 doch in an Eufen von Kol Kvude Bas Melech Prima. So she conducts herself in a way that all the glory of the daughter of a daughter of a king is inside. We're not talking about she goes out to earn money on her own. Especially before the wedding, to go out. Und ihr Ashiris is was sie hat von Mishpacha. So the wealth that you have is from the family, from Mishpachto, from her family. Und also euch Yofi, also beauty is doch nicht totally in ihr. It's not hinges on her. Not in your alternate, there are references. This is comes from the parents. Neusef Lazeh, in addition to the fact was kedei to shel zayin dem aniyosim and avlosim, in order to negate that there shouldn't be the unaffordability that causes them to become not beautiful, but canal sivdalit is those the ashiras from the alternate. So it all comes through the parents. Basically, all of the things that we are talking about, these three advantages, they are not something that the girl worked hard at, but it's something she gets from her family. So based on this, it turns out as is achiluk ikri in them teuchen ha'amira, that there is a major distinction in the contents of Shal Hanos, what is the nice ones, what they're saying to Bavli and Rishalmi, between the Bavli and the Rishalmi. Leut and Bavli kommt euch, as jeder Sug hat gebracht sein Meila. According to the Bavli, means that every category had brought out their greatness. Tenu einechem liyofi, give your eyes for beauty. Tenu einechem mishpacha, give your eyes for the family. Only girsas hain Yaakov, tenu einechem bebali moven, give you to people that have money. Mezal kuken of the milas was zifar mocht. You should look at the advantages that she owns. Even those who say give for family, is he doch nicht äußern the Meile von der Mashpoche in allgemein. So he's not just talking about, oh, it's a very nice family, but she means to say that she is part of that nice family. Nor das was sie als a Teil von der Mashpoche vermog die Meile von Yichus. She, being part of the family, has that advantage of this lineage. So in the Yerushal, in the Bavli, we're talking about advantages that they have. Mashe'en Kain. In Yerushalmi, as opposed to Yerushalmi, is the Teuchen Hamira from the noise, the idea, what are they saying, the beautiful, the nice ones? As men zolkukon of the Sibas Hamayla. You look for the reason of the advantage. As a seinen nit in yonim, they are not matters, but sie hat aufgetan bekoyach atzmo, that she accomplished. Nor sie alle stammen von ihrer Mishpoche, nur allein Mishpoche, they come from the family. Und euch der Chilik zwischen Bavli und Yerushalmi, and also this distinction, whether you pinning it on the family or you're taking the credit, is verbunden mit dem Chilik-Kanal, it's connected to the above differences. Sivdalet zwischen Eifen und Limud Bavli, Eifen Limud Yerushalmi Kedol Kamon, the way they study the Bavli and the Yerushalmi, as the Rebbe will bring down later on. Eisvov. Der Chiluk in unser Sugya zwischen Bavli und Yerushalmi, the difference in our Gemaras, and not just in our subject, the Sugya, between the Bavli and Yerushalmi is nit nor was der Bavli is mer mefaret vid Yerushalmi. It's not just that the Bavli is more articulate, more details than the Yerushalmi. The rest is achiluk ikri in them oifen piru divra Mishnah. But there is a major difference in how the Mishnah is detailed. Leighton Yerushalmi is in Gemara Nitok Kein Naya Amira. According to the Yerushalmi, there's no new saying Legabe da Amira Vashtetin in Mishnah towards the saying which already is written in the Mishnah. The Yerushalmi is blois mefared. The Yerushalmi only details as those was state in their Mishnah. This that it stayed in the Mishnah. As the Benois Yerushalayim flaggen zogen altiten enecha benoitein enecha b'mishpacha. That the daughters of Jerusalem would say, don't put your eyes on the niceness, put your eyes on the family. Seine dos zwei besondere Amires. This is not one category saying both of these things. They're a separate saying for zwei Suge Mishpachas, two categories in families. HaKu'ures hoyoimres, the Ku'ures would say the first part, Altin einenecha benoi, and V'hanois hoyoimres, they would say the second part, teinenecha b'mishpacha, give your eyes in the family. So we're not adding anything. Und der Mit ist verstandig bepashtus. Now with this we understand very simply, was the Yerushalmi is magdim, that he starts off first with the keuris to the noise. First he talks about the keuris, and then about the noise, about the nice ones. Weil das ist behesem zum Sedron b'Mishnah, because this fits in the order of the Mishnah. Freer the Amira first saying al titen enecha b'noi, not to put your eyes on the niceness, and noch teinenecha b'mishpacha, give your eyes in the family. Mashenkin der Babli, as opposed to the Babli, is moisiv naye prote amiris. He adds new details and new sayings. Was veren nit der Mond befeidish Mishma. They have not been mentioned before in the Mishnah. In andere Werte, in other words. The Mishnah der zählt wegen der Amira Klolis. The Mishnah relates the general saying, was alle benois Yerushalayim pflegen so, which all the daughters of Jerusalem would say. Bachur sonoerecho reimato beireloch. Bachur, raise your eyes, see what you choose. The noch kommt the Gemara in Yerushalmi. Then the Gemara in Yerushalmi comes and is mefaret. As afal pi as the verter bachur sonoerecho ureimato beireloch. These first words, raise your eyes and see what you chose, choosing for yourself. That was said by all the daughters of Yerushalayim. Aber the weite dicke Wörter shebe Mishnah, but the following words in the Mishnah, Al titen enecha benoi ten enecha b'mishpacha, seine zwei besondere Amiris. Those are two separate sayings. The Keuris hoyo emres al titen enecha benoi. The Keuris would say, don't put your eyes in the niceness and the noise, and the beautiful ones would say, the nice ones would say, Allah suge balas milas, which includes all the sugim, all the categories, the chosim, the ashirim, the yofir, the oyoemris tenenecha b'mishpacha, give your eyes in the family. One of them is the Gemara in Babli Meisiv. Then the Gemara in the Babli adds, as I said, the Amira Klol was stated in Mishnah, besides the general saying that is written in the Mishnah and was later on broken up by the Yerushalmi, but there's an additional. Hot Yadar Suk Protif of Bnei Yerushalayim, each particular category of the Bnei Yerushalayim, the Noch Meisiv given, they later on added Noch an Amira Protis, an additional saying, a specific saying, behesem to the Maila Protis Shebesug Zeh, fitting the specific advantage of that category. Zayin. Apiha now. So based on the above, as the Yerushalmi is the Amira from the noise, that this that they're saying, give the eyes in the family, the Zelba Amira was stated in Mishnah, that's the exact same saying that the Mishnah talks about, is verantwortet. So this answer was the Yerushalmi zogt, that the Yerushalmi says that the noise flegen zogen nit tein einecho in zeire protis de kemailos. They didn't say their own personal, that they're beautiful, because nor ton einecho b'mishpacha. they said, go to the family. And they didn't say anything that they were distinguished by any of those sayings, but they only said, what does it mean? So according to the Shalmi, they did not emphasize it and did not talk about the Protish de Kemaila. They just said the family. Why is that? Because the Mekuven from the Amira, the state in the Mishnah, what is the intent of the saying as it's written in the Mishnah, is Sumat Yizan, is to emphasize that the Benoy Yerushalayim, that the daughters of Yerushalayim, they sense the Allah Milas was Zefar Mogin, that all the advantage that they own is just need Zayir and Milas. It's not their personal, it's not their advantages. It's not that my power and the strength of my hand has made me this fortune. Nor does they knew this is the intent, this was all given to them. It comes because they're part, it comes from the family. To present this in the way of Musar Chasidus. The Yerushalayim, they know. In order for a shidduch to be successful, the young man needs to think, the milus, not so much about the advantages or ruchnisdike or the gashmisdike, spiritual or physical, was zet that he sees, and was gefallen him that he likes, nor mehavaye isha maskelos. It's from Hashem that a smart wife that a person gets. So therefore is mispalel or mekaven zayin. You should daven and should have intention of oiskleiben dem richtigen shidduch, to choose the proper shidduch, proper match. Was is oisgerufen geworden bamorim, which has been announced in the heavens. It says bas ploini leploini. He wants to make, that's what his main focus, the main intention is to get the right shidduch. Was the far seinen alle benois Yerushalayim magdim. That's why all the daughters of Yerushalayim. What's the introduction? That's not depending on noise or not noise, muchoris or noise. They all start off bochur sono inecho v'rei mata beirulach. Raise your eyes and see what you choose. Was that diuk b'zeh is the specific emphasis here is mandarv kukun oiv milas isha, that you have to see the advantage of the woman and ruchnisdike and gashmisdike, of spiritual or physical, nit v'menzet zei mide oigim b'zei and dolamata, not the way they're seen with the eyes as we have below. Nor frier darv zayin son no inacha. You have to raise your eyes. And then you'll see chulu. Al derech mashakosuf, similar to what it says, su more menechem v'zayin ru miboreil. If you raise your high eyes to the above, then you'll see who created it. Kukun if dem moker, to look on the source. From where they come from, these advantages. Where they lineage, or where do they come from? And therefore will be, don't look at the niceness, give the eyes the family. But the milas, they all come from the family, Kinal Sifhei, as we said earlier, Sifhei. And then he will have the merits of Makavan Zain to them Shidduch, to chance and to come across the direct to the Shidduch, that which was announced in the heavens, was Mizmachris, that was announced Bas Ploini Leploini. So over there, the emphasis is the daughter of this one, Unit Ploinis Leploini. It's the Mishpocha. The Riker Hadgoshi is nit in der Kala. The main emphasis is not the Kala, nor in Mishpachas, Avakala. It's the father of the Kala, the Bas Ploini. That's the main, that is the So'inecha. Yes. Pia, now is verstandig, my Merishalmi also understand the same Rishalmi as the Ures flagging Zogen, Altiten and Nechabenoid. They were saying just something negative. Don't put your eyes on the nice. Was ani and Shlili, that's a negative canal see base, as the Rebbe said before in base. But Allah benois Yerushalayim, because all daughters of Yerushalayim, koilo dik Ures, which includes also these who are Kuris. Freer gesagt, previously, the first thing they said was, raise your eyes and see what you're choosing. Also, the ones who are Kuris say this, Varum, even though they don't have any revealed advantages, darf man doch aber gucken, von wann sie stammen. But you really need to look from where they come from. As jeder von sie ist a Basar Rivke Roch and Leah. Every one of them is a daughter of Sar Rivke Roch and Leah. We say even more than this. As Adrabah. In them, Inyan was the Benois Yerushalayim seinen Madgish. As es darf sein so necho. In this idea that the Bnei Yerushalayim emphasized that you have to raise your eyes to Zen Hecher is Faran Amaila. There is actually an advantage in the Keuris Legabe Dinois. The Keuris, when they say raise your eyes to see higher, there's an advantage by the Keuris over the nicer ones. The Bir explanation. The Forshim Zanim Avayed. The Forshim explain as those was the Mechoris Zogan, where state in Babli. When the Mechoris, they say, as the Babli writes, Chum Mikchakam L'Shem Shomayim, to buy L'Shem Shomayim, is Val Zehom Yiras Hashem, is because they have fear of Hashem. With their posuk was Breitzachem Mishnah, Nuscha Babli, as the posuk that's brought in the Mishnah, according to the Babli's version, Isha Yiras Hashem, it is hollow. Aber Afa became so Chayre, they have the mile of Yerushalayim, Rufze on the Gemara Mechoris. The Gemara calls the Mechoris Vasasis Hepach HaMaila, which is opposite the Maila. So so why we call them Mechoris when they have Yerushalayim? So Beshlem by Mechoris was hominid Kemailas, by the Mechoris that don't have the advantage of either Yoifi, beauty, or Yichus, lineage, or the Ashiras or wealth, Mechakumen, for Zeh Mishpocha Kenal, which comes from the families. So where do they get the fear of Hashem? They get it on their own. Zayin dik Yidish kind, because you're a Jewish child, is reitzu lasis kol hamitzvos lisrachik min avedus. He wants to do all the mitzvahs and distance himself from avedus. Zay der Herren, they sense as they Yiras Hashem, that their fear of Hashem, it is hollow. Should be praised is mitzad. This they know that it comes because of their part of Hashem, that it's because they're a Jewish child. It comes from their neshama, from Hashem. It's Hashem gave them the power to do the fortune. They, if not for the powers they have from Hashem, the Mechoris, doesn't mean that they're actually Mechoris. They're Mechoris in their knowledge that everything comes from Hashem and not coming from them. So, Aderech with the Levana, similar to the Levana, was Eden seine Mendung the Levana, dem Levana, they didn't count for the Levana, the months go by the Levana. And we are similar to the Levana Shemasidim Lischadish Kamaisa, we go up and down, is less Lomegar Moklum. It doesn't have its own light. From its own, it has nothing. Der Oir Vaziz Meir is nit ir Oir. The light that it shines is not her side, nor does Vazihot from the Meir Hashemesh, that which she gets from the light of the sun. That way it becomes a smaller luminary relative to the sun. It's also great relative to the light of the stars. It's greater than the moon. Und das ist der Chiluk zwischen die zwei Sugim Kurus und Noise. This is the difference between the two categories of Kurus and Noise. The Noise seinen, die was fühlen sehr am Eile. The Noise, those are the ones that sense their greatness. Nor Azevi ze seine Benoishe Yerushalayim und Noise. Since they are doors of Yerushalayim and they're modest, and they recognize as the Miles of ze bakumen, that their advantage they received from their mishpachas, from their family. Give your eyes, it's the family. Aber afal became, but yet is those was necha b'mishpacha. Put your eyes in the family. Nit shoylu ba'yivdem hergish does not take away the feeling as he's a balas smiler that she has an advantage. She's doch a tail for the mishpacha. She's part of the family, so it also represents her greatness. Mashenkin the kuureis, as opposed to the kuureis, those who are kuureis, feeling they feel that they don't have anything of their own. Alles kommt von Eibishter, everything comes from Hashem. The Riber, wenn sie haben Meiles, even when they do have advantages. Even if they actually have these advantages of beauty, lineage, and wealth, then doesn't need Zeira Milas. It's not there. They don't see it as theirs. Und der Pfarrer seine sie nicht miyache Zeira Milas zu Mishpocha. They don't give it to the family because they don't feel it's theirs. Was Gita Norto dem Hergish Aziz Abalas Milas Kanal is the family gives you a sense that you also have a Mila. Sie sagen nur so necho as men soll dem Shedish Mokarakel. All what they say is look at the source and the root of everything. As men soll dem Shedish Mokarakel dem Eibishter. See the Eibishter. Und altite necho benoy. Don't put your eyes on beauty. Shapi Hanal is the Pidish Bazem. I said, don't put the eyes in beauty. It doesn't mean that beauty. It means the beauty doesn't count because it's all the Eibishter. Not that they don't have the niceness. They have niceness. They can have all the milas, but it's not theirs. Afilu as is the noi, even though there is beauty. Don't put your eyes in the secondary and the below. Nor so raise. Look up higher. Das Apianal, based on the above it, when I verstehen, was the Yerushalmi is the noch Mamshech und Messiah, why he continues and he concludes with bringing noch einmal to bring again the posik, v'cheinu eimer tzenorenu goyim. Weil the kavanah in Gemara by Yerushalmi, the intent of the Gemara in Yerushalmi is to bring an array of the zwei sugim shebegim Gemara, the two categories of kuris and nois. Und der Pfarrer is the Yerushalmi, the Moisif ala Mishnah Matik, and that's why the Yerushalmi adds to the Mishnah of the quoted in Yerushalmi, Matik the Werter, Batorah she'oter lo imay v'chashtein nit Mishnah, and those by bringing those who the Mishnah is only goymer, and to bring it down, Batorah she'oter lo imay, which is not stated in the Mishnah. The Bir was the posik tze'eno or eno goymer zok zwei meiles v'kesher zu shloimeh. It has two advantages with regards to Shlomo. Batorah shoter lo imay, the mother crowned him, and beis b'yem chasanosu b'yem simchas libay, on the day of his marriage and when he rejoiced. Zabinya beis hamikdash. Shlomo had geboit, that's the building that he built. The chilik zwischen the zwei miles is what's the difference between what his mother has given him and what Shlomo built on his own that he did. Is a Torah keser malchus. The Atorah, the crown, which is the crown of the kingdom, is a mile in the melech. That's an advantage in the king. K'maimer Chazal, as a Chazal say, as an edus of Haroil Malchus, Beis David, that what is a testimony that somebody who is fit to the kingdom of Beis David, if it fits the crown, fits him. Is when Atzeres David, Hail Moser, when the crown of David fits him. But the Rabbi is the posik aber madgish. The posik emphasizes that this is a Torah she'otra loy imay. It's a crown that comes from the mother, has come from imay. But dugmas the noise. This is similar to the nice ones. V'zogmen teinen echa b'mishpocha. Put your eyes in the families. There's ein balis milas. They have advantage. But the sibah for the milas is mishpocha. It's the family. Imay. It's his mother. Teinen echa b'mishpocha. Give the eyes mishpocha. Schenken Binya Beis Hamikdash, as opposed to the building of the Beis Hamikdash. Hados Shloime Geboit. That was built by Shloime. Aber liidach, what Shloime built it is dos hakoil b'ksav miyad Hashem. This is all written from the house of Nev, in the hand of Hashem. This is Beis Hashem. It's a house of Hashem. Ketfila Shloime, the prayed. Shimcha Nikra Alabayis Hazeh Hashem Banisi. Your name is called on this house that I built. That is B'dugmas the Keuris. Ze seinen Isha Yiras Hashem Hitis Halal. They are Yishem, they are praised, but not as their own. It's not anything of hers. Altzis the Meibrishtons, everything is from Hashem. Yud, and das is at the time. So the reason was the Yerushalmi is Meisi B'Sima Inyan. That the Yerushalmi ends, the end of the idea, the word Omen. Sheyibone be'emheire b'yemeinu Omen. Says one. Weil the Sheiches von Zabinyan Beis Hamikdash to the Keuris drückt sich aus, the connection of the building of Beis Hamikdash to Keuris drückt sich aus mit mehr Hadgoshe, with more emphasis in the Inyan von Omen. What is Omen? Omen is Meloshen Emes, true. Because the Far has an entert Omen of a Tefillin Bakosha. When one says Omen on a prayer or a request, start mekavens, I want you to have in mind this is the way it should be, come truthful in front of our eyes. As the Bach says in the Torah. Bus emes is shoylo shinui b'vais of nizkis. Emes is negates changes. It's true. B'vais of nizkis shows on eternity. The hisofe sheyibone b'mheiri b'meinu amen. When we say amen is meisiv and zokt. As there sheibone b'mheiri b'meinu, this building b'mheiri b'meinu Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi v'tzayna binyan nitzchi. It says it's going to be. We're not saying to b'mheiri b'meinu, but amen. It'll be an eternal Beis Hamikdash. The time was the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi v'tzayna bayis. So what's the reason that the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi is going to be an eternal home? He says the Far was Mikdash Adnai koinu yidachol. The Mikdash of Adnai, your hands did it. This is binyana du kutshaberichu. This is a building of Hashem. Dozok the Yerushalmi. This is what the Yerushalmi says as the mile from Binyan Beis Hamikdash versus Beis Hashem. The advantage of the building of the Beis Hamikdash, which is the house of Hashem, the dugmas, the milas from Keuris. This is similar to the advantage of the Keuris, was that Herren they sense as outcome from them was Bora Eila, Su Morim Rumi Bora Eila. Hashem creates it all. But Zayin Begilu in the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi, that would be openly the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi was with Zayin Binyan Nitzchi, because it comes from Hashem. Mikdash Adnai koinu yidachol shebone b'mheiri b'yemeinu amen, and that will be eternal. Yudal Yishloimar as oich der sim in Babel. Say that also the end, the conclusion of Babel, was is their mimer. So there it concludes with the saying, Osir HaKadosh Baruch Hu las is mochel tzadikim chulum. Hashem will make a circle of the tzaddikim is verbunden, is tied, nit nor mit pratshe ba Mishnah, not just to the day of the Mishnah. It says Bnei Yerushalayim Yitzur Zecholos, that the daughters of Yerushalayim will go in circles, go out and dance in circles. Likewise, Hashem will make a circle for the tzaddikim. That's the connection. But also what is meant with this, when it says in the end of the Mishnah that it should be built as in the Zman from the Osid, in the time of the future, built in our days, would not be just generally Simcha. Yom Simchas Libo is a binyan Beis Hamikdash, as we said, it's rejoicing of the heart, just the building of Beis Hamikdash. But how would the Simcha be as Osid HaKadosh Baruch Hu las is mochel tzadikim chulu? Hashem will make us circle with the tzadikim. Was euch in dem zet man dem chiluk zwischen Eifel Limud Abavli v'Yerushalmi. Here too, you can tell the difference, the way it's study of the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. The Gemara in Yerushalmi is blois mefarish the Mishnah. It just explains the Mishnah that sheibone b'mheir v'yemeinu, that the building b'mheir v'yemeinu vet zayin and Eifel von Omen, meaning it'll be eternal. which gives the idea of the Keuris, which give credit, everything is Hashem. Hashenke, the Gemara in Babel is Moisiv Naya Protim, adds new details, about the time of the future. Osid HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lasis Mochel Tzadikim, is going to make a circle. Hu Yeshu B'nei Began Eden. And he will sit amongst them, in between them, each one can show with his finger. So Hashem, we hoped for him, and he helped us. Hashem will rejoice, be happy in the salvation. This is Mesichas Tu B'Ov Tavshin Mem Gimel.